It's coaching in cars, man.
A lot of limiting beliefs out there, thinking, how in the world am I going to accomplish something like that?
Not dissimilar to anybody.
The greatest risk we were afraid of that did not come to fruition is...
If I started a new business tomorrow, the first thing I would do is hire a coach.
We have CJ McPhail here. This has been a long time coming.
I'm excited.
I am too. So he is the founder, owner, operator, and all the things of Outsider Coffee.
Yes, sir.
Out in Easley, which is a crazy story. How you moved literally across the country to open a business in a place that you had really never opened a business in. So why don't you go ahead and just introduce who you are on a personal level, and then just tell us a little bit about the journey of Outsider Coffee, and we'll dig in a little more on it.
Sounds good, Ren. Well, dude, I'm super stoked you're doing this and really impressed about the whole process. But yeah, my wife, Lindsay, and I started Outsider Coffee in 2019. It was sort of a long time coming. On our honeymoon, we've been married for almost 25 years. We scouted drive-through coffee locations on our honeymoon, and then life got in the way, and that's really my kind of one of our messages. But our life got in the way, and in many ways we allowed our life to get in the way. We started realizing the risks that we needed to take felt scarier and scarier and scarier and scarier, and then 4 sons came along, and life keeps happening, and I got involved in corporate America and was successful and had a good career there, but was dramatically unfulfilled.
Yeah,
just dramatically. I mean, I'm using the word dramatically and intentionally. Very unhappy. Not a victim, just realizing, what are we doing? Like, how did we get here? And it feels embarrassing to sometimes say that out loud. Like, you just literally wonder, like, how did I get here? How am I at this point in my life where I still feel relatively young and I'm just not, this isn't working? That affects your marriage, that affects your relationship with your kids, that affects your friendships, affects your faith. So we did a deep dive together, Lindsay and I, and just realized, like, what of all the things we've done, and we've started multiple businesses and done a lot of things, and I can go into that later if it comes up, but bottom line is, what have we enjoyed about what's worked in the past? And what we knew is we wanted to wake people up to who they were. That's just sort of a part of who we are. Like, and I think you're that way too, but I want to be able to be present with someone and then wake them up and have the mechanisms, the tools to really go after life. I mean, we say in our company that we believe our customers are the answer to most of the problems. So a lot of our company was sort of based on the fact that we want to help people realize what we already know is true. And then not only that, because realization is nice, but now let's act on it.
Yeah.
Because it's action that is what's scariest.
Yep.
Who can't go to a conference and come away ready to change the world? And yet, how many of us do?
Yeah. Well, for 24 hours we might try.
That's true.
But then the next 24 hours is us trying to unravel it and go back to our old ways and our habits.
Dude, that's good. It's so, you're so right. And I'm guilty. I'm not saying this with any judgment. I'm saying I am wildly guilty of this. So, but I want to change it. You know, I've been a part of the problem. I want to be a part of the solution. So, Outsider Coffee is a for-profit drive-through coffee company. Is really one of the world's first personal development coffee companies. That's really what we're after, and we're very, very intentional about that with our mission. So we decided to take a risk squared. We started our very first location in the United States, in Southern Oregon, which is has the most coffee per capita drive-throughs in the nation.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of our friends, even our good friends, were kind of like, what are you smoking? Like, okay, so we love you guys and we believe in your vision, but don't do it here.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it here. And our answer was, thank you, but we have to, because if we can prove this model works here, in a incredibly, so we opened the 91st and 92nd coffee drive-through onlys in our county. That's how many there are. That's insane. I mean, just trust me, that's insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, Seattle. We all know Seattle, Oregon is like coffee hub, Starbucks, a lot of the big chains that you see and most people stop at every single day started in Oregon, you know,
That's
or
right.
around the Seattle atmosphere, right?
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is homed and birthed the majority of certainly of those companies. And there's others like that are drive-through only that I love, like Dutch Bros.
Oh yeah.
Founded and started in our community. Human Being, founded and started in our community. Black Rock Coffee, founded and started in our community. I can go on. So now we're opening one.
Yeah.
And they've got hundreds, and now Dutch has got low thousands of locations. But so our friends are just like, what are you doing? And I respect that. You know, I think that's nothing but love. But we had to prove to ourselves and to the community this could work. And what I can tell you in a nutshell is it's worked beautifully well.
Yeah.
We opened our first location and went crazy well. Then we opened our second location. You and I are now driving to our third location, which happens to be in South Carolina, and fourth under construction, opening in about 90 days, with 4 franchise locations opening this year. So all that to say is it's really worked. The model has really latched on, and the model and the mission changes how we hire, who we hire. It changes our location choices. It changes our business partnerships, why we partner with this public school system in the way that we do. I can go on.
Yep.
But our mission has been able to drive and be sort of the sounding board for all those opportunities. And that's what brought me to you.
Yeah.
I was able to, you know, you and I have some mutual friends that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And you heard about some stuff that I was doing, teaching about entrepreneurship and business, and you and I connected through that. So, dude, I'm ecstatic about that.
Isn't it funny how a cold Facebook message turned into a friendship, a relationship, and then turns into this?
Yeah.
It's just funny how God brings people together, you know, through weird circumstances. Dude, I moved here from Nebraska 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You moved across the country.
Yeah.
We somehow ended up in a place where we had the opportunity to meet each other and give back to each other's lives personally and professionally. It's like, I don't know how you can say faith and God was not involved in the circumstances. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
I actually want to touch on one thing that you said that I think is super important, especially for all the businesses that I coach, is a values and a purpose-driven organization.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's no way you can start a coffee shop in a land of coffee shops, literally bringing a knife to a gunfight, right?
Yes.
There's no way that you can do that if you don't have a strong purpose and strong values.
Yeah.
You can do it, you're not going to be successful at it. And then you move across the country, take those values and that purpose, you open another one, and then another one, and another one, and now all of a sudden we create this franchise model based on literally the purpose and values that you started. So I know your grandpa was very instrumental in creating your purpose as a coffee shop, which I love. But if you can just in a nutshell tell us the story of how you came up with a purpose and values for your organization.
Yeah, well, I was fortunate to grow up with my grandpa Joe, who I'm named after, was a very successful builder and general contractor. But he went beyond that, and this is what always amazes me. It always gives me goosebumps to talk about it. He not only did that, but he realized that lumber prices in the 70s were way too high. Actually, it was late 60s, were way too high, and then it got worse in the 70s. So what did he do? He went and bought his own lumber yard, and then became his own lumber supplier and everyone else's. That's so cool. I know it's not crazy complicated, but not a lot of contractors own their own lumber yard. Then he bought his own fleet of vehicles, because why would he keep having his guys drive vehicles that keep breaking down, and he can't trust that. You know, he needs a warranty on these things. He needs to make sure they're going to be taken care of. So he had that. All Dodge trucks, which is so cool, these Dodge Power Wagons, which I love. And then he heard about snowmobiling, and snowmobiling became a big deal with a company called Polaris that was unheard of in the early 60s. And he became one of the very first Polaris dealerships in the state of Colorado with a showroom in his lumber yard. So, you know, you look at that, and my grandpa only had an 8th grade education, born and raised in Nowhereville, Kansas, a beautiful little town called Ashland, Kansas, but no one's heard of. And moved to Colorado, took the greatest risk of his life, where his family was like, what are you doing? Why would you go to Colorado? Well, there was an oil field boom in this little town called Rangeley, He had been hearing about it for a long time, and he figured if there's a boom, they're going to need housing. And he turns out he became really one of the only builders for decades in that town, and did extremely well as a result. So my grandpa Joe, I always want to give him props. And not to say anybody listening to this, you and I both know, all of us, if we're willing to acknowledge it, not everyone is, but all of us stand on the shoulders of giants. Like
Totally.
all of us have had these giant people in our lives, men and women, whether they're family or not, that have influenced us in such a way that we wouldn't be here today without them.
Totally.
So I think that's important to recognize in business, and really what makes me feel like is I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So our mission then came as a result of, obviously those early days, and then Lindsay and I just realizing like what's a sentence or a statement that would ignite a fire in us. Like, it's hard for me not to be emotional when I say it. And that's different than just a company retreat on a weekend, which I've done in corporate America, where you go and you form a new value statement or a new mission or a new vision, and that's not wrong. But if it's not emotional, this is my opinion, but if it's not emotionally moving, it's not going to matter, or at least it's not going to last.
Well, in most of those companies, what they do is they hire a marketer to take a bunch of words. I love that truck.
I do too.
Take a bunch of words and put them on a piece of paper and try to create catchphrases that you can communicate to your customers.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yes, I want to communicate my purpose, my mission, my values. I want to communicate those things to my customers 100%. But really, like, my purpose is mine. That is my team. That's my organization's purpose. And my values are what we live out every single day. If you're going to be on my team, you live out these values. You can't have a marketing company create values and a purpose for you, especially when you tell them what you want and then they make it something else. It's like, and I'm not dogging on marketing companies, but I'm just saying, like, so many organizations say, like, we are these things, and then by the time you market it out to your customers, it's something completely different.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't know why. Maybe we could figure it out together if we thought through it, but corporate America avoids emotion at all costs. And I find that to be one of the greatest faults of corporate America, and I don't care what company you're talking about or how big or small they are. I mean, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I just don't understand with this passion to avoid emotion. So what Lindsay and I want to do is let's bring the emotion in. Let's make sure it starts with us. Turn right here.
Yep.
And that's our stand. We've got to feel what we believe, and we've got to help other people, and our employees most importantly, also feel and experience what we believe. Because if they do, then our customers will. So our mission is, the short version is to wake people up to their greatness. The long version is, our mission is to wake people up to their greatness through inspirational calls to action, so our customers can love themselves and change the world. So that's our long version mission. It's not that long, but and it's fun. We use that, like I said, we'll meet a couple of our employees here in a minute. We use that in our interview process. We ask very bizarre questions in an interview process. We are not your normal interview place.
I love it.
And I'll tell your readers, I always tell people this, and I find very few people use this question, and I wish they would, because it's really fundamentally changed our company. But my favorite question at the end of any interview, and typically, remember, we're interviewing people that are pretty young in our industry. I think the average age of our team, we have 55 employees or so right now. I think the average age is 20, maybe 19. It's going to be in that, somewhere in that range. So they're pretty young, and they're coming nervous, and they're coming ready to ask, like, share a mistake you've made. And give us a win in your life. Give us a win in your life.
Turn everything into a positive. What's your biggest weakness? Oh, probably that I'm punctual. And it's like, that's not a weakness. That's a strength. Appreciate it, though.
That's hilarious you say that. Yes. So what we want to do, because of our mission and our vision for our company, is we want to turn that process on its head. So one of the ways we do this is simply with the questions that we ask. The last question I like to ask, I won't go into all of them now, of course, but the last one that I ask is, to me, the most important, which is, what do you wish more people knew about you? It's a very simple question.
It is.
And here's what I tell my managers because I ask them to ask the question as well, and they do. Here's what I want my managers to listen for. I don't care what this person says to that as an answer, as long as it's not illegal or immoral.
Right.
If it's illegal or immoral, I wish more people knew that cocaine is good. I mean, okay, we're out.
Yeah.
Peace out. Drive safe. But no one's going to say that. Okay, hopefully. So far, no one's said that. But if they don't have an answer, they're not for us.
Yep.
Great person, I'm sure. Not judging you, but you're not a fit for our culture.
Yeah, we like to. We do something similar when I was interviewing people. We would always ask people. This is a fun question. Maybe you'll use it someday. But nice. If I were to ask somebody that you care about, what's the most annoying thing about you? What would they tell me? And it's good. It makes you think deep about who you really are. And if you can think deep about who you are and you can communicate that to me, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the annoyance. If somebody's like, my wife gets annoyed every time I blow my nose, it's like, okay, well, that's not going to bother me. But if you can think about, okay, what do people see me as, and how am I working on that? So that's always my follow-up is okay, if somebody gave you that feedback,
that's good.
What would you do with it? And up to that point, they haven't had to think through that. And also up to that point, they haven't changed anything. They've been given the feedback. They know it's an annoyance, but they haven't done anything. So now as a business owner, I'm asking them for action. Okay, so now you've been given that feedback. What do you do with it? And if they have a plan, I'm like, okay, this person's coachable. I'm really trying to find out if somebody's coachable at the end of the day.
Dude, that's so good. And what our two questions in this instance have in common is it's drawing something out of the person that probably they didn't anticipate being asked and tells us everything we need to know.
Yeah, it's authenticity.
Yes.
When you take away the interview format and you create an authentic environment where they have to answer authentically, that's the real person you're hiring. I always use my wife and I's marriage as an example. I always joke that the first 2 months of our dating career, I got the representative. She was showing me all the things that she thought that I wanted to see in a woman, at the end of the day. And a lot of those things were great and they aligned, which is great. But at the end of the day, most of these people that you're interviewing, you're getting their representative. If you can find authentic questions that create an environment where they can be who they are, then you know who you're getting. Those are the long-lasting people you have in your organization.
Dude, it's so good. I mean, quick anecdote. This is a great story. One of probably our first 6 months of our first location, I was interviewing a new girl, probably, again, late teens, early 20s. And I asked my question, what do you wish more people knew about you? She goes, oh, that's rude. That's mean. You're throwing in a tough one. I loved her, her way of even addressing the question. It was really fun. And I said, I'm ready when you are. I'm waiting for an answer. And she goes, you want an answer? She's almost mad. You want me to answer that seriously? I'm like, yeah, I'm dead serious. I absolutely want you to answer that. She goes, well, I've got an answer for you. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm ready. She goes, and she started crying. She goes, I love art, through tears. I love art. I'm like, awesome. She goes, but when you tell people, friends, family, that you love art, they tend to look at you like, it's kind of weak. You're going to spend your life doing what with art? How do you make money with that? And everyone judges me, and everyone has these ideas of how I should do something else and maybe do art on the side, and I'm tired of it. I believe that art can change the world, and I want to be a part of that conversation. And I wish more people knew that about me.
That's awesome.
Dude, it gives me chills even saying it. She was I was sold. And we hired her months later to do all of our t-shirt design.
That's awesome.
Our hat designs, which are still very popular.
That's awesome.
And we paid her separately. We honored her. But that's what that question brought out, and that's what and your question does the very same thing. It allowed us to see. But I want people to understand, it's our mission that drives why we're asking those questions. We just pulled up to one of our locations our first location in South Carolina, and another thing that our mission does for us is it changes how our building looks. So we have these phrases in our organization. Disrupt your day as one, and that's another training point with our team. Is we want each conversation. We've got several cars at the window here right now. I can almost guarantee you, with a lot of money on the line, that our team inside right now is asking open-ended questions in such a way that it's going to disrupt the day of this person. Now, hopefully it's a positive experience for the customer, right? But you never know what you're going to get, because we're all people. And life changes in a moment. And sometimes you're coming through to get a coffee because you're angry. You just got some bad news. You just got an email. Somebody just let you down, and you're mad. And sometimes you're coming through to get a coffee or a sandwich or whatever you're getting with us, and you just got the best news ever. Your grandson was just born. And you and your husband just booked your tickets. You're flying out to see your first grandson. We just heard that last week. I can go on. So our team is go back to those interview questions. We know that's going to happen at the window. We need people that are able to handle most of that. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes customers are rude, let's be honest. And we also need our team to be as prepared for that as possible. So, disrupt your day, you can't see it here, but it's on the side of our building.
We're going to show it here in a minute.
And the lettering, disrupt your day, is actually larger than our logo.
I know.
And that is not by accident. It's very intentional. In fact, in Oregon, many people call us Disrupt Your Day Coffee, which is such an honor. It's not our name, but I don't care. Like, I love that that's what people think we're called. Because that is exactly what we're trying to accomplish with every conversation.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to go up to the window here. We're going to get a coffee. All right, so we are here at Outsider. And as you can see on the side of the building, just like CJ said, disrupt your day. Obviously a part of their mission that they want to achieve with everybody, which I love. But more than anything, I just wanted to, number one, get a coffee from here. This is my second time here, which my first experience was incredible. My second experience was even better because I'm getting the white glove treatment, so to speak. But I want to show the viewers like what it's like to be really like a purpose-driven company and everything that you do. So it's very interesting to me. So they've designed this building specifically around being able to come around through. There's not a bunch of signage. There's not a huge menu out here. And they've designed the building in a way where literally everything inside of the building is 100% reachable by each person working in here. So the whole purpose is to disrupt your day and interact with you as a customer. So they never have a moment where they are back facing to you. It's always customer facing. So they've literally designed the building around their purpose. And then the other cool thing, if I can get CJ's cup here, the very top, what do you guys call these?
Wake up words.
Wake up words. So they put wake up words on every single cup. So again, this is a part of living out their purpose of disrupting your day. Everybody gets to look at that every single day. And it's just a little disruption in their day where they have to stop and think, like, what am I daring to fail today? Or what adversity am I facing in the day, and how do I get around it? But I just think it's super cool how, you created literally an organization built around this one particular purpose, and everything that you do is filtered through that purpose. I just think it's super cool, even down to the building. We got to meet the girls. I hear that they're Oregon famous with their Instagram reels, so we got to pop in here and we got to meet them really quick.
Come on out. We want to meet you guys.
So we gotta meet the Oregon famous Instagram reel. So if you want to introduce yourself, tell us who you are.
You go first. I'm Abby.
All right.
I'm Ashley.
Okay, great. And they do most of the Instagram reels.
They do a whole lot of
And the Oregon location, we're obviously down here in South Carolina, but the Oregon location knows them by name, knows them by face, and loves what you guys do. So you created a following all the way across the country, which is awesome. So I do have one question for each of you, if you wouldn't mind answering. So we'll start with Abby. So why do you love working at Outsider?
I love just the environment that it provides. It's a great work environment. I love that it is super positive and uplifting, and that it's very I've met so many wonderful people through this business. It's just such a cool, it's more of a family than a business. It's just, I love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah, just off of what she said, I've built friendships with customers that I would have never met before ever, and it's friendships where we hang out outside of just them coming to get coffee from me. So I love our community. I love our people. They are just the sweetest. So I love Lindsay and CJ. They're awesome. So yeah.
It was super cool too. While we were standing here watching the building, you guys were obviously serving a group of 4, and we came up here, and it was just cool to watch you guys interact with them. But at the end of the day, you remember their names, you remember where they worked right away, and you're like, oh yeah, they're here every single afternoon. So it was just really cool, like it just living out your guys' purpose, and I love it. Thank you guys.
Go left. Go.
All right, so we got our coffee. I have my wake up word for the day, which is definitely gonna, on my drive home, my gears are gonna be like spinning.
Come on.
What am I fearful of failing at right now?
Yeah.
There was one topic I wanted to come back to that you had mentioned before.
Yeah.
And you know, how I got connected with you was through a podcast with another group of entrepreneurs here in Greenville. And the podcast that really got me was, and in the moment was speaking to my heart, was risk aversion and what it takes to own a business. You have to learn how to take certain risks, and you can be calculated about your risk, but ultimately, like, you have to learn to take risks. Now, I know about, you know, your personal life and your kiddos, and I also know about like some of the risks that you've taken in life, but what would you say owning a business was like the biggest fear you had going into it that you realized probably was not even a real fear?
That's a great question. I probably the greatest risk we were afraid of that did not come to fruition is nobody would come. You literally, on day 1 of our opening, our first location, you know, you've put a lot of money in, 6 figures, high 6 figures, and for us, we truly, and I'm not afraid to talk about this, we liquidated most any account we had available to us just to get cash to put ourselves in a better debt position. And that's, again, that was a major risk. I would argue that could be foolish. I'm not recommending people do that. That's just what we did. So here we are, having done that, though, on the first morning of our grand opening. And we opened at 6 a.m. And you envision, as a business owner, like hundreds of people coming around the corner and pulling into your location and cheering you on, and you're high-fiving them as they go by you. And the truth is this: at 6 a.m., not a single vehicle. Not one. And at 6:05, no change. 6:10, no change. But at 6:15, 2 cars came. And I can probably talk about this. At 6:25, probably 15 cars. And by 6:45, we had police managing traffic because there were so many vehicles trying to get in. We ended up accessing a back alleyway that we technically weren't allowed to, but the cops let us that day. People were turning over 2 double yellows to get in the wrong way. We ended up having all those problems, but let me tell you, those are problems to have. So by 7 a.m., we've never looked back. That first hour, we were profitable that first hour, and I'm very proud and grateful to say that we've remained profitable ever since.
You know what's funny is, like, every business owner goes through that at some point. When I went all in on coaching businesses, I remember feeling like there is no way that I'm going to fill my day with coaching conversations with potential clients, existing clients, whatever that looks like. Like, how am I going to do that? And like, the fear starts to set in, and you know, if you don't have a strong enough faith in what you're doing, the fear can really take over and tell you nobody's going to come, you're never going to get this, you're never going to make any money, you're never going to do these things. But I always talk about, you know, my last company, we use the term ripple effect. If you throw a pebble into a pond, the ripples go out, and eventually the ripples reach the side, right? So it's like, I kept telling myself, if I just throw enough pebbles in the pond, the ripples will meet at some point. So I just kept throwing pebbles in the pond over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden you look back and you look at the gain and you're like, whoa. I remember sitting there thinking, nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to come to my coffee shop that I'm opening up. And then it started to happen. And then it kept gaining momentum. And then all of a sudden the ripples started going and going and going. And then all of a sudden you have another location. You have another location in another state. You have multiple locations coming up in this state. It's like, it's just incredible what just doing the right thing and being a very purpose-driven organization and continuing to keep the quality, which I think is key, can really change a lot of people's lives. And look at the employees that you've been able to change their life. They might be able to buy their first car for the first time.
That's right.
Or pay their rent or all of that. And then look at all of the customers that you've changed their life. Like, it's just unbelievable to think about the ripple that you've created.
And our vendors too, and I think that's true. That's obviously true. Every business needs vendors. They have third-party people that support them, and you buy their products. And we have from milk to cups to lids to sauces, flavors, syrups. We have a guy that cleans our what's called a grease trap. He actually reached out to me recently and said, "I don't know if I would have made it through the last year if it wasn't for the Outsider Coffee locations keeping me going."
Awesome.
And I don't say that to brag. I just say, like, that's something that you can go home and lay your head down. And I always say this to people, and I know you do too as a coach. Like, when you lay your head down on your pillow at night, any night, and it's just you, and all the regular noises are gone, there's no screen in front of you right now, it's just you. How do you feel? I just like that snapshot. And I can tell you that before I was a business owner, before at least I took the risks that we're talking about, I felt unhappy, angry, stressed, disappointed in myself. And I'm not saying everybody does. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And since being a business owner, so much, I don't want to paint a rosy picture. Being a business owner is incredibly difficult. But that sense of purpose and fulfillment and excitement for what might be next is only going up every month, every year. The people that we're meeting, you just heard I loved our employees that you just interviewed talking about how excited they are to meet new people. That is such a great response. I didn't know what they were going to say. I'm so glad they said that. And that's how I feel. I mean, you and I are meeting through this. If I hadn't taken the risk, well, Lindsay and I had not taken the risk to open Outsider Coffee, you and I would definitely never have met.
Yeah.
I would not have moved to South Carolina. It's just bizarre.
It is.
And risk is a part of it. And that's the thing I love talking about. I talk about the core of love. There's this phrase in popular psychology called the core of love. And the core of love for most people is, it's a deeper love. And I say the core of love is not love, it's risk. If you think about it, for most of us guys that maybe asked our wives out for the first time, think of the risk that was. Think how terrified we were, right? And
I was so terrified somebody else did it for me.
There you go. And hey, there's women that do it too. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but often it's the guy. Go straight through all these slides. Often it's the guy trying to get up the courage to ask this beautiful woman if they would be willing to hang out tonight. And boy, that's a risk. And boy, aren't any of us glad that we did. And what's become of that? I mean, it's amazing. So there's that risk. But if you look at love, risk is really at the core. And that's why I like talking about it, because it's required.
Yeah.
There's a reason why not everyone's opening companies and being business owners. And it's not a judgment. It's just a difference. It's those that took risks, great risks in many cases, and those that did not.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that if you work for corporate America like I did, there's not risk involved. I still think there is, but it's not at near the same level that it is once you're out and you have your own payroll, and it's on you.
Yep.
Insurance is on you. A machine breaking is on you. When the power goes out because of a hurricane, as we both experienced a few months back, that impacts us. There's nobody that comes and rescues us. We have to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's a different level of risk.
Yeah.
But the reward is what not enough people talk about. The reward is you met one of my sons, surprisingly today.
Yeah.
He's watching my wife and I. This is where I really get emotional. He watches us. And as he watches us, I don't know how that's changing him exactly, but I know it's changing him.
Totally.
He's going to be less afraid to take risk in his own life. And if that's the only win that we had from Outsider Coffee is my own sons going out and doing their thing, then it was all worth it.
Yeah.
But you and I both know it goes far beyond that.
Yeah.
So risk is core.
I don't know if I could have said it any better than that, but what went through my head when you said about, asking a girl out, I would just say, I don't know what camera I'm going to show at this time, But one of these cameras, I'll just tell you, if that's the biggest risk that you're going to take, trust me, at one point in my life, I thought that was the biggest risk I could ever take in my life, is asking somebody out. When I look back, I'm like, gosh, that was the smallest risk I think I've ever taken. It obviously reaped the biggest reward.
Yes.
But looking back, I'm like, I have taken way greater risks than I did that night. And, that's not to demean my relationship with my wife, but like looking back, I'm like, that's such a small risk that I had to take, because realistically, had I not taken that risk, the worst thing that could have happened would be a no, and I feel rejected for 24 hours, and then I move on with the rest of my life, right?
That's right.
But it's like when you own a company and you take that risk, it's like the worst thing that could happen is I can't pay my employees, then they can't go buy food. Like the consequence to the risk gets a lot greater when you take a bigger risk. But the great thing is consequences aren't always bad.
That's right.
Sometimes the consequence to the risk can be greater and better than ever if you take a bigger risk.
That's right.
And I'm not telling people like go liquidate your entire life and go start a company, because if you're not set up and you're not doing the right things to create a meaningful company, obviously it's not going to work. But if you feel it in your heart that you have a service or a gift at something and you feel like you can provide that to people at a high quality and at a high rate, if you take that risk, trust me when I say people will find you.
Yeah.
Your customers will find you. They already exist.
Yeah.
It's just you have to connect with them. And a lot of it's just stuff like this, connecting with the right people and saying the right things and speaking from the heart.
That's right. Well, it comes back to this idea that's not mine. It's just something I like to repeat because I believe it, is any of us already have everything we need to do whatever it is we want to do. Mm-hmm. And until you get to a point where you actually believe that, you're probably not going to take great risk. Mm-hmm. You already have the people, the relationships. Believe it or not, you have the money. And I hear that all the time. Well, I just don't have the money. Well, trust me, you'll find a way if this is powerful enough in your life. If this is that important in your life, you're going to find a way. You're going to share that with somebody else that's going to go, you know what? I can't do that, but I could help you.
Yeah.
It could be family, it could be friends, it could be whoever. I mean, those things just tend to come out of the woodwork once you make the commitment to go big in your life. And big is defined by you, right?
Yep.
Big could be asking somebody out today, or big could be leaving a career and starting something different. I mean, it's big is defined and very subjective by the individual. But for us, big was, we're going to take a lot of corporate career and a lot of investments, all of our accounts, we're going to liquidate because this is how much we believe in this.
Yeah.
And we did not have the money to do any more than get open. That was all the money we got.
Yeah.
And things have gone, thankfully, well, with some heartache and with some difficulty and a lot of mistakes and a lot of things done well. Here we are.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's fun, man.
You've created something awesome. I'm sure as an owner, I always tell my owners this, like, I'm sure as an owner you don't hear this enough, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you built. You and Lindsay have built something incredible. You've literally disrupted my day and my life by being a part of it and knowing you, which I love. And I just think it's super cool what y'all have created. So I want to give you an opportunity. We're getting close to our destination here. I do want to give you an opportunity to tell us, how can we find you? How can we find Outsider? How can we interact with you in the community? What's that look like?
Dude, thank you. The easiest way to say it is go to our website, outsider.coffee. That's not .com, but .coffee. And all of our socials are there. We have a podcast called Outsider Nation. You can link there. If you just go to Outsider Coffee, everything you would need to get a hold of us and see us on socials is all linked right there.
Yeah, it's great. Your locations, remind everybody where we're at. So the one we were just at, I would call that easily. It's not technically easy.
Yeah, that's Pendleton.
Pendleton, that's right. So Pendleton, South Carolina.
Yep.
That's the second location.
That's the third.
The third location.
Yeah, first is Medford, Oregon.
Yep.
Second is Central Point, Oregon.
Okay.
Then Pendleton, South Carolina. And then number 4 under construction, opening in a few months, is Anderson, South Carolina.
Awesome.
Then multiple franchise locations coming this year to Arkansas, Montana, Oregon again, and Greenville, South Carolina.
Love it. Yeah, Outsider Coffee, CJ McPhail. I appreciate it so much. This was awesome. It's probably the best one we've ever done.
So much fun, dude.
So yeah, till the next time.
Thanks, friend.
Appreciate it.
So cool.